In the shadow of the Colosseum is grandeur, and beneath the arches of triumphant aqueducts lies a story rarely told in its full, devastating truth. This is the story of the millions whose lives were not their own, the foundation upon which the mighty Roman Empire was built, the story of its slaves. Rome was a slave society. At its peak, it's estimated that as many as 1 in every 3 people in Italy was a slave. They were not seen as human beings, but as property, mere instruments with voices, or instrumentum vocale. Their journey often began in violence, captured in war, snatched by pirates, or born into bondage. From the distant frontiers of Britannia to the deserts of Syria, a river of human lives flowed towards the heart of the empire. Imagine a Roman slave market. The air is thick with dust and despair. Here, human beings are displayed on rotating platforms, their bodies inspected like livestock. Sellers would list their skills, their origin, their health. A chalked sign on their feet might indicate they were newly captured. A cap on their head meant they were being sold by their previous owner. They were stripped of their names, their families, their pasts. All that mattered was their price and their purpose in a new, brutal life. For many, this new life was in the sprawling agricultural estates, the latifundia. Under the relentless sun, they toiled from dawn till dusk, chained together, planting and harvesting the grain that fed the legions and the capital. Overseers with whips ensured the pace never slackened. The work was grueling, the food was meager, and the hope for freedom was a distant dream. Others were condemned to a slower, more certain death in the mines. Deep within the earth, in suffocating darkness, they would chip away at rock for silver, gold, and lead. The tunnels were narrow and unstable. Cave-ins were common. Poisonous fumes filled their lungs. Life expectancy in the mines was terrifyingly short. It was a death sentence disguised as labor. The great monuments of Rome, the roads that connected the empire, the aqueducts that carried life-giving water, all were built with the sweat and blood of slave labor. In the quarries, men and women cut and hauled massive blocks of stone, their bodies broken by the immense physical strain. They were the invisible architects of an empire that celebrated its glory while hiding the human cost. Not all slaves faced such brutal physical labor. Many served within the homes of the wealthy. They were cooks, cleaners, tutors, and secretaries. A beautiful woman might become a handmaiden, a strong man, a bodyguard. While their conditions might appear better, their existence was just as precarious. They lived under the constant threat of physical and emotional abuse. A spilled cup of wine could result in a severe beating. They had no legal protection, no control over their own bodies. Their masters held the power of life and death. The emotional suffering was immeasurable. Imagine being torn from your home, your language, your gods. Imagine seeing your children sold away, never to be seen again. Slaves were systematically dehumanized, their identities erased. Yet within this oppressive system, they found ways to resist. They preserved their cultures through secret songs and stories. They formed makeshift families, finding solace and support in shared suffering. They sabotaged work, feigned illness, and when the opportunity arose, they ran. Escape was a desperate gamble. The Roman world was not a friendly place for a runaway. Specialized slave catchers, the fugitivari, would hunt them down. If caught, the punishment was severe. Branding on the forehead with the letter F for fugitivus was a common penalty. For others, it was crucifixion, a terrifying public spectacle designed to deter any thoughts of rebellion. Yet there were moments when despair ignited into open revolt. The most famous of these was led by Spartacus, a gladiator who, in 73 BC, escaped with a small band of followers and ignited a rebellion that swelled to over 100,000 strong. For 2 years, they defied the might of Rome, a testament to the unquenchable human desire for freedom. Though their rebellion was ultimately crushed with savage cruelty, the legend of Spartacus endured as a powerful symbol of resistance against oppression. Could a slave ever be free? Yes, through a process called manumission. A master could free a slave as a reward for long and loyal service, or a slave could sometimes save enough money, their peculium, to purchase their own freedom. Freedmen, or liberty, could become citizens, but the stigma of their past often remained. They carried the weight of their history, a constant reminder of what they had endured. The story of Roman slavery is a difficult one to confront. It challenges our perception of a civilization famed for its law, art, and philosophy. It forces us to acknowledge that the gleaming marble of the Roman Forum rests upon a foundation of human suffering. It reminds us that for every celebrated emperor and general, there were millions of forgotten souls whose labor, whose pain, and whose very lives powered one of history's greatest empires. Their story is not just a footnote in history, it is a vital, haunting chapter in the long, ongoing struggle for human dignity. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the hidden corners of history.